नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् Hariyo, Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we are now in the second part of our, can call it introduction to Isha Upanishad because I cannot claim to have understood Isha Upanishad. If I do, I'm supposed to be the bearer of realization, which I am not. So I can say
Yet.
we are just trying to get familiarized at least with the base of this Isha Upanishad. For reference, we were using Sri Aurobindo's commentary on Isha Upanishad, which was the reference for looking at Isha Upanishad in the form of four movements. We saw the movement number one and movement number two. So, movement number three and movement number four is something we'll be looking at today. Before we begin, can somebody recollect anything that we saw last from the Isha Upanishad? Yes, please. Anything. In the form of yes, anybody? Something that we saw last? It began with the verse, isn't it? Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat. Tena Tyaktena Bhunjitha. Magruda Kasya Swidhanam. Anybody? Can you recollect anything from the first part of the Upanishad that we saw?
So sorry, I can't.
Okay, Ji, no problem. So maybe I'll just brush it up again. Then, if you see the
Please.
first moment begins with introduction of the concept of the Isha, of the Supreme Divine. Everything in this world belongs to the divine, whether it's living or non-living, all that is. And the creators of this Upanishad say, Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita, it's sort of like offer all to the divine, the everything, because he is the true possessor of everything. And how do you offer this? Offer this with joy. That is the way to live an entire life, offering everything that you have to the divine. And how are we supposed to live this way? The second verse tells us, Kurvan neveha karmani jijiveshe chatam sama. You have to live 100 years like this. Somebody may say, oh my God, 100 years of sacrificing. Well, it is not really a loss when you sacrifice to the divine. Maybe sacrificing to an enemy might make you feel, ki, oh no, what have I done? I have lost things. But when you offer to the divine, you are just recognizing the true owner. And you realize that you are not the owner. That will make you free. As Gita talks about a mukti called mukta, this mukta sangha. That is the freedom of realizing I don't own anybody. I may not, I don't owe. Do we owe our loved ones? Do we own
No,
our loved ones? Sorry, own our loved ones. I love
no,
somebody. Can I own that person? Can I claim that person is my
no,
property?
no.
No, isn't it? What happens when you claim that person to be your property? You
They
get,
go away further.
we go further from that person, further from the truth. We start living in delusion. We start trying to manipulate things. We start trying to control things. We start trying to visualize our own truths and distort what is the divine. Just today, it was very nice. Actually, I got to read through Chitra only. She shared a quote of the mother. She shared about how when you are sincere, you are like a glass, or like sincerity is like an atmosphere. That is what the mother had said. And the divine's will can easily penetrate through that. If through glass, light can go through, isn't it? Easily. But when there's insincerity, there is distortion. And when there is again distortion, means you are moving away from the divine will. Again, you are not able to realize or recognize. So, this Upanishad is trying to reach the highest truth, which is the truth of the Brahman. To realize the Brahman, we must first recognize that the Brahman is the owner and we are nobodies. In the presence, it's like a drop can also claim to be the ocean, isn't it? When the drop is one with the ocean, when the drop tries to say, I am separate, that drop is going to evaporate. because the existence of a drop bereft of the ocean is nothing. Something of that sort we see here in this Upanishad. So the first two verses are there. Then it is very much like in the Gita also. Krishna says, unless you sacrifice, you will not become free. And the yogis are the ones who have mastered the art of sacrificing. Maybe because they have mastered the art of sacrificing, they are called yogis. Because the yoga is oneness, and these yogis are in oneness with the divine at all times. Krishna says that, yes, Rakiji wants to add something. Is it
Yeah.
you?
Gee, just want a clarity when we say sacrifice, what do
Ah,
we exactly mean by sacrifice here?
okay. In the context of the Upanishad, in the context of the Upanishad, in the very first verse of the Upanishad, the Rakiji, is that this very nicely it is said, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat. Whatever is there in this world belongs to the divine. So we have to recognize the ownership of the divine. I, when the ownership of the individual comes in front, then this aspect of sacrifice is lost. Because we have a tendency to own things. We have, every time, it has been since times immemorial, isn't it? Somebody has power, the power tries to influence more people, and I want to control, I want to own this, I want to own that. But this entire owning is taking a person away from the truth. So, Rakiji, I think here the sacrifice is sacrificing to the Brahman. If that is okay, I'll go ahead. All right. So, I think I've got the
Yes,
thumb.
G. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ji. Now, but there is always there is always an individual, isn't it, who tries to say, I am different. I won't sacrifice. I can't offer to God. I can't offer to the divine. Well, there is an attitude which people can have. But ultimately, when everything belongs to the divine, sometime or the other it will be understood, isn't it? If somebody on the street comes and says, this property is mine, I own this property, and this person can go on declaring to everybody. But when I have the papers with me and I finally show those papers, that person is going to be silenced. It is something like that in nature. You either recognize or nature will make you recognize. But the problem is when nature makes you recognize, it is not fun, isn't it? And you're forced to do it. The mother also says you do it or you'll be forced to do it. Well, this is what it says, and sometimes people go through lifetimes of ignorance and they feel they have escaped because this life I didn't really experience. But if we study the Gita, we understand that there's a link. We are a conscious chain being born again and again. Punarapi Janama, Punarapi Marana. This cycle is going on until the final mukti is reached. And here in this Upanishad, there is a warning also. The third sloka. Asurya nama te loka andhena tamasa vritaha tanste pratyabhigachanti yeke chahatmano janaha. There is a world which is asurya, meaning without the sun. We cannot imagine a world without the sun. What is this sunless realm that the Upanishad is talking about? If you understand the symbolism of the sun, it is the light of illumination, it is a light of truth. So those souls who are moving away from the truth, they will reach to that particular realm. What happens there? The Upanishad is pretty sharp. If you see here, tanste pretyabhigachanti. Yeke chahatmanojanaha. Post death, to the doomed sunless realms they attain, where only a blind darkness the being can obtain. Accursed is the fate of those beings who kill and pollute their souls by their own will. So, this journey we will study when we study the Bhagavad Gita. What is the post death journey? In 8th Adhyaya, Krishna has described there are different paths. There's something called the solar, well, the what we call the Shukla Marga, or there is one thing which is the Krishna Marga, the white path and the dark path. So even after life, the person who is encompassed with their ahankar, even if the body is left behind, that ahankar element which is attached takes the person into a darkness. Means this Upanishad is warning a person, stop going onto that path of ahankar. This is something which is a important message. If we even in different scriptures we see that if you see even in Manacha Shlok of Samartha Ramdas Swami, who was the guru of Chhatrapati Shivaji. He tries to tell the mind, ki, Sang Ravana te kai jhala. What happened to Ravana? What happened to him ultimately? His entire kingdom got destroyed, isn't it? So don't have ahankar. This is one important lesson which is very applicable to anybody. Because the moment a person has power, the power person feels I am too strong, I am too powerful, and everybody is now going to bend to my power. But this power is temporary. We have to recognize that. And in that process, when in that lust for power, people do all wrong things. They hurt others and sometimes they hurt their own selves. They even try to go against the essence of the soul of a person. Because everybody has a conscience. Everybody has a conscience. But that conscience is sometimes suppressed. Sometimes attempts are made to completely mask it throughout an entire life. So these beings also who mask it throughout the entire life, nothing good awaits them in the next journey is what this Upanishad is warning. Then suddenly, if we see the fourth shloka of this Upanishad, the Upanishad suddenly starts. Means one side you see the Upanishad has introduced the concept of the Brahman. In the Upanishad has said, recognize the Brahman and try to live your full life, whatever is happening in your life. Live that way and try to enjoy it and offer it and try to live a full lifespan of 100 years, which is the lifespan of a human being. Try to live that way. And then it gives a warning. If you go against the nature, or the highest truth, what is awaiting you? The distortion of the truth and darkness, nothing more. And then it enters into the kingdom of Brahma Vidya, which Sri Aurobindo called the second moment. It suddenly describes what is this Brahman, the Brahman Tattva, which is there inside everybody. It says, Aneja dekam manaso javiyo, nainadeva apnavan purvamarshat, tadhavato jnanate tishtat tasmin napo matarishva dadhati. Fixed firmly yet faster than mind, it's its tread. It is beyond the gods and it ventures further ahead. Immortal and yet crossing all the things that run, master of the ethereal seas of life. It is he, the one. I'm just going in short for the first two moments because we covered it. The next third moment, we will look at it in detail. So here, if you see again, the shloka is talking about it is so fast. It is so fast that it is moving. It is going so ahead that even the devas are not able to reach that place this is crossing. It is crossing what we, for us, God is already the highest of conceptions of a
Yes,
human. For a
definitely.
man, God
My
is which is
insurance is due for renewal
supreme.
on the 18th of
But
February, and
there is some
as
echo
I'm going to
going
be
on.
away for the next couple of weeks, I
I
wanted to
think
see if you've got any
probably
input
I'll
on that.
just mute one moment. Yes. So, God, the concept of God is something which is already quite high for us. And yet, this Upanishad talks about something which is moving even beyond the conception of God. There is something, and that is so fast, yet it is also stable. It is also at non-motile and also moving. It is it is very interesting. We actually discussed it that this uncertainty of the Brahman is an important concept of understanding that there are things that have to be realized beyond the mind. Our mind is going to help us up to a particular level. We have learned in probably if we want to do a PhD, we will have to first finish our schooling, isn't it? Then finish our undergraduation, then probably a post graduation, and then a PhD. It is something like that here. We can't jump into the realm of the Brahman, but we must complete the graduation. So the mind has to first understand it is so far, it is so near also. Means these are two extremes. And then it's transcending both the extremes, what the mind knows. Because our mind is a finite, though we believe the mind has maximum capacity, the Bhagavad Gita and all our scriptures say there is a limitation of the mind. The human being, because the human being is blessed with mind, human being feels that man is the greatest. And the mind of the man is the greatest miracle on earth. But our Upanishad says no, mind also has a limitation. Everybody, do you agree to this? Yes, anybody? I think Shashiji, you are muted, so I can't hear you.
Yes, basically, as I understand it, you can't run before you can walk.
Yes. But the limitation of the mind that has been, is that acknowledged or accepted? Is it limited?
Yes, it is. It is limited because if it was unlimited, we would understand things so much quicker. But
But
it's very limited because it's all here. We have to open our minds to go further, and that's a very
okay.
difficult thing because it's very limited.
But it's very fast also, no? Means I'm right now in India and suddenly I can think of what's going on in USA or UK and I don't need a passport to move there and no agents will stop me from traveling there with my mind, isn't it?
Yes,
So,
yes,
yes.
that's
Okay,
true.
Vijayaji is adding something. Vijayaji, yes, please.
Yes, just a small experiment, closing our eyes and trying to focus on one thing for a minute. It is definitely not possible for many of the people of the world. So
Hmm.
this shows how limited powers we have. We know that our mind is capable of focusing on one thing, but
Hmm.
even for a minute, it becomes very difficult for most
Okay.
of the human population, which means we are still having that
Okay.
limitations of the
But
brain.
that is the untamed mind, Vijayaji. So what if I
True,
tame
Ji.
the mind? Yogis do sadhana, yogis do
Yeah.
dhyana, yogis do mind control, yogis achieve a ability to concentrate on maybe 20 items, 10 items. They call avadhana kala. Dr.
Yes,
Sampananda
Ji.
Mishra ji is actually documenting all of this and he is making a system so children can be trained in this avadhana kala.
Yeah.
And not only Dashavadhani, there can be Shatavadhani also, 100 points of concentration at the same time with
Mm.
full intelligence, full concentration. That is also
Sure.
possible, isn't it?
Two things.
But
One is even if the God is near us, our mind is
mhm.
so incapable to see the complete action of
That
Him.
is
For
true,
example,
Vijayaji.
11th
Mhm.
chapter,
Mhm.
even when Krishna was there, Arjuna was unable to see the
Correct, correct.
avatar.
That is
So,
true. That is true.
yeah,
That is true
mind
because
is
Arjuna was
limited.
emotional. No, Vijayaji. Arjuna was emotional. Arjuna had so many other thoughts. But I'm saying if a person decides, hypothetically,
Okay.
if a person decides that I am going to control my mind, I am going to tame the mind, I am going to keep my mind steady, so steady that it's not going to move over anything, then
Mm-hmm.
can I realize everything with the mind, or still then also I will have to transcend the mind to realize
Yes.
something? Vijay,
Yes.
I will have to
Absolutely, Ji.
transcend it,
Transcending
isn't
the
it?
mind is the only option,
Yes.
Ji.
Mana is absolutely, and the Gita also tells the same thing because mana is connected with what we call the indriyas. Indriyas or the senses. If we call the senses as our inputs, mind is just the processor of the inputs. But don't we know that our senses are limited? I cannot see beyond what is the visual spectrum that I have. I can't hear beyond my auditory spectrum. I can't smell beyond what is my capacity. My touch sensation will not. Something is too cold, my body will become numb. Something is too hot, also, my body will become too numb to feel the heat beyond a particular level, or pain also beyond a particular level. It just goes to show that we are receiving inputs of this world through our body, through our senses, but these overwhelm us at many times. But still, even if they overwhelm us, they are limited, isn't it? A dog can smell better than I can. An eagle can see better than I can. A buffalo has greater resistance to different temperatures than I can. So there are so many creatures having different things like that, but they are at least living examples of a extraordinary sense perception, which human beings don't possess. So whatever we have to make do with our yoga, sadhana, and all is going to help us to extend our capacities, to make our mind sharp. Or in other words, we will have to make our mind so sharp that we will be ready to take the plunge into the next kingdom because now the Upanishad is telling there is a Brahman. This Brahman is beyond the mind. It's so fast. It's looking like it's not moving and yet it's crossing everywhere. It's inside also, it's outside also. If you look at the next shloka, one would wonder why this is all necessary. Well, let us see. Let us see what this Upanishad has to say. If you look at the fifth shloka, it says Tadejati tannejati taddure tadvantike tadantarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasyasya bahyata. That which moves and moves not, both at once. That which is very near and is also at a great distance. That which is contained in every living thing. that which also extends on the outside of everything. This Brahman is present inside and outside. This is very difficult for a logical mind to understand. And we generally function by our logical minds only. I call my friend, he can say I'm inside the house or I'm outside the house. When he tells me I'm inside and outside the house, I'll say, hey, it's crazy. I don't get you. Well, it's okay, but the Brahman is different. The Brahman is present inside also, outside also, is moving also, not moving also. It's near also and far also. These are all limits. The mind will have to get stretched. What is nearest to you right now? Anybody? What do you see is nearest to you, or what you perceive to be nearest to you, or whom do you perceive nearest to you? Anyone randomly, if you would like to share?
Myself, me,
Okay, Vijayaji
myself with
sees.
Krishna.
Okay, okay, you are nearest yourself. You are nearest to yourself. And who is farthest, Vijayaji?
Myself.
You've already become Brahman then.
No, no. No, I know my limitation late. I'm the
What
farthest.
is
My
the
mind doesn't
limitation? How are you
understand
farthest, Vijayaji? How are you farthest?
because I am
Um,
unable to tame the mind, unable to even do something that I
okay,
want when it comes to mind. That is why
so
I'm farther from myself. So the bridge
you are
is my
farthest
Krishna.
from yourself or you're farthest from the Brahman?
Um, yes, I think Brahman
Isn't
is
it?
the right word.
Brahman, you're farthest from yourself and from the Brahman also, because Brahman is inside you
Yeah, yeah,
as well,
that's what
isn't it?
Krishna. I said myself and
Yes,
Krishna.
yes. This
But
is
if you name it as Brahman, I was wondering what will I
Yes,
tell.
yes. This is the Upanishad talks about the Brahman. So we
Okay.
can call the Brahman Krishna also if we want. We can call it the Parameshwar, Brahma, whatever we want to call. But then there will be a little bit of fights between different schools who say you cannot attribute this to this. There are different Vedantic schools, isn't it? Some say they believe in the Dvaita, some believe in the Advaita. Yes, Shashiji wants to say
G.
something. Yes, please.
Sorry. G. Okay.
Yes, Shashiji, and then I'll come to you,
So,
Vijayaji.
okay. So I just wanted to ask you then the macrocosm and microcosm.
Yeah, yeah.
How does that work? Macrocosm, microcosm is inside us. Then is the Brahman not in us as well?
Yes, he is inside us. He's inside us, but are we realizing about the Brahman? Maybe that is why we are farthest
Okay.
away from the Brahman also, maybe.
Yes.
And there is a nice, in Marathi, they say, Pendite Brahmandi. What is in the microcosm is also in the macrocosm. If we go inside of when we were having a program, like I had a good fortune of taking a workshop for little children. It was on learning through nature, a book written by my teacher, Damleji. So in that book, while I was talking about it, I just told the children about certain things, and when the lesson was going on, the child just got up and said, "There is a universe inside of me. There is the entire universe." That was a beautiful realization for that young child. She was just explaining such a beautiful, big universe. She started talking about what she had just learned in biology and what is inside of her body. And if you look at it, it's crazy, isn't it? A physicist was saying that the quantum reactions that are taking place inside of the body, which allow us to have hand-eye coordination, brain is firing, the synapses are firing at quantum speed. We are not yet able to develop anything, though we claim to reach the highest speed. Who is it that created all of it? What is that consciousness? Well, the Upanishad just uses one word for it. Upanishad says it is the Brahman. Why is the Upanishad taking this approach? We will see as the verses become clearer. So let us
Sorry
continue.
to interrupt, G.
No need to,
Just
no
wanted to
sorry
add one
required.
point.
Most welcome.
I
No
don't know whether it's
interruption.
a coincidence or not. This
Ji.
Brahman, yesterday, I was listening from my daughter and my husband. They had been to
Hmm.
a bhakti speech by, I
Hmm.
forgot her name,
Hmm.
where she spoke about two great people, saints, Entro Manalu, Mahabhavanu, that in time.
Okay.
In that, she was saying about Sada Shiva Brahmendra.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
who was actually a person who could see Brahman everywhere
Ah,
the whole of his life. She gave me the full story, and it
great.
was amazing. I was thinking about Brahman for the past 2 days. I couldn't connect. I mean, I could see it
Okay.
as Krishna. Then I saw, okay, limitation. Brahman, Krishna, everything same as. Again, you said
Yes.
the same word to me. So I
Yes.
just thought this story,
Ji, ji.
in case now we don't have time, but
Yeah.
just what.
Yeah, yeah. No, we will, if we have time at the end, we will look at it. because today we
Sure,
have to complete the next two. So if you see
sure.
again, yes, yes, that the bhed is on our mind, which we create, we divide. We divide ourselves from sometimes from the divine, but the divine is everywhere. The Sri Aurobindo's Upanishad also talks about the same thing. There is a root cause of all the suffering, separation from the divine, or the feeling of separation rather than the actual separation. Ahankara eva bijam. It is a very nice. Ahankara eva mula, I think that is the word exact. The base is ahankar. So let us continue. Anyway, so what happens again? I do not know if again it's coincidence or not. What Vijayaji said is in the next shloka. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevānupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijagupsate. He's talking about, I think, Vijayaji mentioned the name of Sadashiva Brahman, is it?
Yes, Ji,
Yes.
Sadashiva Brahmendra.
Okay, Sadashiva Brahmendra. And that is the sixth shloka of the Upanishad is talking about something similar. The
Oh,
one you
okay.
exactly before we stopped. So you didn't
Oh
know
my
this
God.
shloka, isn't it? So you see, that's to
No, no,
Sarvani
no.
Bhutani. Yeah, yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevānupashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. When in all beings the self one can see and realize that in all beings the self alone can be. Once he understands the self dwells in all beings, he gets liberated from animosity and all misunderstandings. When such a person who gets the realization, and again in the Gita we have the same thing, isn't it? Vasudevam Sarvamiti. It's everywhere Vasudeva is there. Again, what is different? This is the realization of the Brahman in the world, Brahman everywhere. When the person is able to recognize that, then the person will not have any kind of animosity, hatred for anything. We will understand the way of the divine works and will see the divine everywhere. Sri Aurobindo in his jail saw it inside of petty criminals also. He saw the Brahman. We have a very high standard set up in front of us, which we have to follow, seeing the divine in all. Sometimes it's difficult, but that is what this Upanishad talks about. The last shloka, which is the last part of the seventh shloka, which is the last shloka of this second moment of Sri Aurobindo, which he has called it the classification. So this is the one. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut vijanataha tatra ko mohaha kaha shokaha ekatvam manupashyataha. Before we look at its meaning, just why not we when we realize that the divine is in everybody, what will be the reaction of us? What will be the net consequence of such an understanding that divine is everywhere? How will we react when our most irritating neighbor also comes and does the usual things that the neighbor does? If you just realize that in this irritating neighbor also divine is there, how will we react is my question. Anybody? Of course, I'm not referring to any neighbor of mine who is irritating. Just for a example, I have said. Yes, please.
Oh, it's take it in your stride and keep
Yeah,
on
yeah,
remembering no matter what they do. That's the divine
yes.
having a
Maybe
good day
it's
or a naughty
it's the
day.
divine will. It is the divine will. Maybe this is the divine will. You are what is going to happen is kaha moha kaha shokaha. What moha are you going to? Why are you going to start crying or weeping or feeling the greatest sorrow? Or why are you going to get so attracted by certain lures of somebody just by because you are now seeing the outer self? You're able to understand it's a divine. Best example is Kathopanishad. In the Kathopanishad, a young Nachiketas has been told by his father, go to hell. Actually, he didn't use that exact word, go to hell, but he said, I'll give you to Yama. And this young boy, such a pure soul, it's a very beautiful symbolism there. The story of how he reaches there has not been told. They've kept it hidden because he has gone and come back. Very much like how Savitri knew the secret of bringing life back to Satyavan. So they keep all such things secret because they have to be realized by those souls only who work hard to reach that. But if they find it, maybe they will be able to spread that everywhere. So anyway, the young Nachiketas, what he does is he tells maybe the divine wants something to be achieved by my going early to Yama. Look at the state of that young boy. What has he done? He did not say anything wrong. He just wanted to point out with full respect to his father. He just wanted to say, you are doing this wrong, you will not get punya. But because there were these protocols, you could not easily talk to parents due to some sanskaras of that time, maybe. He said, whom will you give me, father? Because he wanted to say, father, don't give such cows which are too old to give any milk. This is not a worthy donation. If you are doing a yagna, do it completely. Don't give this. This is what he wanted to say. But the father was not understanding because the father was in his own. He is also a great rishi, of course. I'm not trying to. It is that moment. That moment he did not realize. And he said, I'll give to Yama in a little bit irritated manner. And his boy says, look at this. My father is such a great exalted one, and he has uttered these words. These words are not unnecessarily uttered. Maybe it is the God's wish. Let me go to Yama. And he goes in. That is where the entire Kathopanishad begins. So look at the state of understanding. Means he is not crying, he is not suffering, he is not saying, my own father cursed me, why has he done this? Instead, he is recognizing the divine will because he is the worthy one. He was the one whom Yama also sought forgiveness from in the Kathopanishad. He's sorry for keeping you waiting so long. I did not realize you are here. Please ask me what you want, I will give you the boons. Because that is the understanding of the one who has achieved or understood or experienced the Brahman. So this understanding when it comes, no, we stop feeling this moha. Oh, I have been cheated. Oh, I have been betrayed. All these feelings will disappear and melt. That is what happens, is what this Upanishad says. Yasmin sarvani bhutani sorry, yasmin sarvani bhutani Atmaivabhut vijanatah tatra ko moha kah shokah. When the gnosis of self's existence in all beings comes, by all the realizations, then being enlightened becomes. Where then can the delusion or sorrow exist or be, when in all beings a oneness one can see? So this is where we stopped in the last session. Now we come to what is the third and the fourth moment of the Upanishad that Sri Aurobindo has talked about. Let us go to the next shloka. Saparyagachu kramakayam avranam ashnaviram shuddham apapavidham kavir manishi paribhu swayambhur yatha tatyatorthan vedadhatha shvatibhyaha samabhyaha. What is this? Well, this is a very beautiful shloka, very long, very tongue twisting also to say, but the meaning is very beautiful. Four levels of ascension are described. If you see very beautifully, first recognize there's a Brahman. The one who does not recognize the Brahman cannot go to the next sloka of this Upanishad only. If you don't recognize the Brahman, why will you understand anything else? So the person will get pushed away outside only. Then somebody who's recognizing the Brahman and still going ahead, going against the will of the divine after knowing the divine is there. Well, be careful. Like they say, Mahakali's wrath is there for the hater of truth. Something like that. The are bad. If you are consciously going to hurt yourself or hurt other people and cause harm for a person's path towards the truth, it is not like a curse. It is actually a direct karmic consequence which is mentioned. Then, when that has been told, okay, so such a good person who is not going on the wrong path, who has recognized the Brahman, will then seek to understand how the Brahman is. And the Brahman, some properties are said. Brahman is like so moving, so fast moving, so near. Now, why many of these verses are called Brahma Vakya? Because single word, if you meditate upon it, means now we are just getting introduced. We are looking at it very superficially, of course. But that is also enough. But we decide to take one verse, and I want to meditate and go deep into this. We can get the highest realization. Swena swasmin swayam brahma swem mahinme swanubhutam Satyam Jnanadhanam Praptam Paramapadam. The highest realization can be got by a person when he realizes that the divine is inside of me. But this realization should not be ahankaric. It should be something which must come to an individual. For coming, we have to first be receptive, we have to be calm, and this is what the Upanishad is saying. Ki understand that the Brahman is everywhere. That means Brahman can be in a person whom we don't like also. Brahman can be everywhere. If I understand that, then I will become a little bit calmer. I will stop having these fluctuations. That is the first step. And that person is capable of getting the realization. And now we come to the next. What are the levels of realization in the third moment? It is the Immaculate One who has transcended. Beyond body, evil and flaws, into light he has yonder extended. From the prophet, the realized seeker, to the omniscient and the self's manifestation. In stages organized eons ago by the eternal, since nature's inception. We talked about schooling, isn't it? First, a person has to go to school. Then the person goes to college, graduates, then does the post graduation, and then what we call the higher studies. Well, these are stages. These are stages like that. These stages have been organized by whom? By the divine himself. What are the stages? We will look at them. But there is a need to understand those stages. Can a person in a school level say, I am going to get PhD right now, I want PhD right now?
No.
No, isn't it? The knowledge has to be gained in a particular succession. But if a person is, what we can say, too eager to receive it, still the person will have to go through. Sometimes there are prodigies who get degrees very early, but they also have to clear the levels, isn't it? They have to clear the series, they have to go through. It cannot happen just like that. Same is the case with realization. If we want to reach the highest realization, we will have to cross the stages. There is a beautiful, in the Rig Veda, there is a beautiful sukta, which is a conversation between Indra and Agastya Rishi. Now, we all know about Indra. Indra is said to be, if if we study Sri Aurobindo's interpretation, Indra is the god of the illumined mind, of one stage which is higher than the mind. And we know mind is already the Indra of our Indriyas, the lord of all the Indriyas. Mind decides, I will not run after the chocolate which my tongue is salivating continuously. Because mind has said, no, this is not right. You don't get calories inside today. You've had your fill. Mind is strong. But there are stages beyond the mind also. Like that, this Rishi, Indra Agastya Samadhi, where the Agastya Rishi is trying to reach the highest state. Indra is coming in between and saying, why are you transcending and bypassing me and going to that stage? And he calls him like comrade, he calls him out and he says, why are you going? And then he also realizes his mistake. It is so beautiful, symbolically conveyed in Vedic suttas. When we try to understand the outer meaning is something, the inner meaning is something, but the progression towards the supreme divinity is something which is highly essential. It is something which has to be understood. And it happens in stages. Otherwise, you perish too quickly, isn't it? If you don't acquire your skills in the right manner. Why do people grow mad? Oh, God is inside of me. I am Brahman now. I go on the road now saying I am Brahman. Nobody can lay a finger on me. All you fools, you have not realized Brahman. I am the Brahman, and then suddenly someone will, what we call, knock some sense into me. Isn't it? Because that is a not a realization. It is a just mind going somewhere else. So these are dangers which we should be aware of, and we should allow the progression to happen naturally because God has created stages. But let us see what are the stages of awakening that have been mentioned in this particular shloka. If you see this Kavi, the first one, Kavi, then there is the Manishi, then there is something called Paribhu, and then there is something called Swayambhu. Four stages of ascension organized by the divine. Kavi, everybody has must have heard of this, isn't it? What is Kavi? Anybody? Anyone?
The only thing it means to me is poet. Kavi is
Okay,
a
that is
poet.
okay. Kavi is probably a poet. Then in Hindi they say, जो ना देखे रवि वो देखे कवि. What the sun does not see, that the Kavi can see. Meaning, the Kavi is actually from the Sanskrit word. Kavi is also in the Rig Veda's very first sutta. Agni is called the Kavi. Agni Hotar, Kavi Kratu. The god Agni is called the Kavi. If you see the different properties of Agni, what is the role of Agni? Agni's role is to take meaning of Agni is moving upwards in Sanskrit itself. The root ag is that also I learned from a Virgo of Dr. Mishra ji only. That time ag is moving upwards. So Agni's work is what? To take upwards, or the Agni Deva's job is to take all our prayers to the God. He is the harbinger of gods. He is the one who takes our aspirations and they go up, and the gods then come to our place. So Agni, or he's called a Kavi, and Kavi is also called Agni Hota Kavi Kratuhu, the doer. So maybe who is a poet? If you just reduce, it's not exactly the poet, it is something more than poet. But if you still look at a poet, what do you call a spiritual poet? What does the spiritual poet see? He sees the truths, isn't it? Somebody who has a vision of being able to see, probably a glimpse. So maybe the first stage of is when we start receiving the glimpses. We start getting the glimpses of what? Of the things that are yet to come, or indications of the divine, or the working of the divine. So Kavi. Then Manishi comes, the next stage. If we were to look at its what could its meaning be for us in everyday life? Maybe the person who is not just receiving the glimpses, but is getting a greater picture, a more clarity comes in as a person starts going. The glimpses which are coming once in a while, they become more sustained. And not just one portion of the picture. Sometimes the entire bigger picture is visible. Because many times we get a glimpse of something, or we just, if you know some event is going to take place and you know only one small part of that event, you're not going to get the full picture of what's going to happen. The small part might be just one small part, which is actually completely different from what is the entire outcome. So the next stage of after Kavi is the, we can say, Manishi. Then comes the Paribhu. Paribhu is, if we say, how do we say? If we say, now Manishi, if we look at it, is now not just getting glimpses. This person is like getting a big blueprint only. Anybody has ever done any construction work? Anyone?
No.
Or at least has heard of the blueprints that are used in construction? Is
No.
aware of the how the construction is done, means before there is first is somebody's idea, okay, hey, I want to build something. When you go to somebody's planner, you can say that person says, okay, what is it that you want to build? I'll give you the big picture. I will make the blueprint for you. So you get the blueprint. You get the full picture, isn't it? What is going to come there? First was just the aspiration. The first was the aspiration to do something. Next was a greater blueprint of what you want to do. This should come here. That room must be like this, facing east. I want a pond there. I want this there. All is now, all the fine details are there in the blueprint. That can be the next stage. First is getting the glimpse. Next is getting the greater picture. You're able to see the bigger picture now. But then I'm asked one question is anybody has like why I asked about construction is because most of the times there is a lot of difference between blueprint and the actual constructed thing, whatever building is constructed. Anybody knows that there are revisions to the blueprint. They are done multiple times because when you are manifesting something, there are so many forces at play. There are so many forces at play, and whatever, maybe say if the divine has one moment, I will just, yeah, mute. Yes. So when you are manifesting a, like say, and let us look at it in terms of realization of an individual. When a person gets some glimpse, then the person gets the full picture. Still, the work is not over. Next work is manifesting that bigger picture. Manifesting it has n number of challenges. So there's a knowledge which is required. For somebody, just having the blueprint is not enough. Somebody who has engaged in the construction sector can very well agree that, okay, blueprint work is over does not mean everything is over. Now we will get the connections, we will get the electricity. While we do construction, we will see so many other hurdles, how things are going to go differently. Like that, a yogi also receives sometimes indications Some yogis who are a little more advanced, they don't just receive indications, they receive the bigger blueprint. Then that is still not enough. How do I manifest this blueprint? Tukaram Maharaj had said, Budte he jana pahve na dora. These people, they are now drowning. My eyes cannot see how these people are drowning because he's not able to bring that manifestation of what he has understood. He wanted it to be conveyed. He wanted it to that truth to go to the people. They should not go on the unrighteous path. And yet people are still walking there. He's not able to understand. Okay, of course, it was just for a moment. Tukaram did reach his highest. I'm not trying to comment on Tukaram. I'm just using his reference of a quote. But then comes the next stage. Somebody who has the knowledge to bring that idea into a material manifestation. The mother had a vision of Auroville, isn't it? It was just well, she just stopped, and this is the place where Auroville will start. It was a barren land. Nobody knew how to even what will happen. And then Auroville's charter was laid, everything, the foundation. The mother has given a plan which people are still struggling to fully understand what it is and manifest it perfectly. So that is the next. She had the power of manifestation also. Paribhu, Kavi, Manishi, Paribhu, and then fourth is Swayambhu. Swayambhu is what is the where now? This is the origin. Again, that can also be given an example of the mother of Sri Aurobindo Ashram. Through her only the vision of Auroville for the future of humanity came in, isn't it? The idea originates from that person because that person has reached to such a level of consciousness that the divine's consciousness has got aligned. We must have heard of this word Swayambhu somewhere or the other. No? In temples also, we must have. There are many temples built around lingas which are said to be Swayambhu lingas. Anybody has heard of it? Because they came out on their own from the ground. Like that, divinity starts manifesting. Nobody knows. Yes, Shashiji was saying something.
Saying, no, I haven't, but the moment you said that,
I think I lost your voice, Ji. I'm not able to hear you.
sorry, no, I was saying, hadn't heard, but the moment you said
No, I think I can't hear
come
you.
out,
Yeah, no, okay. There are histories of different places where people have suddenly found that Shiva Linga has arisen out of nowhere. It came out from the ground. Well, this is where a person, this is the highest stage of consciousness, we can say, where that person is now the source and the originator of the divine conceptions itself. So these are the stages, is what the Upanishad talks about. Let us just continue to the next shloka. Then अंध तमः प्रविशन्ति ये विद्याम् उपासते ततो भूय इव ते तमोय उ विद्यायां रतः entering into the darkness deep and blind the followers of ignorance you will find but the rigid followers of knowledge that is considered exclusive only sink into a condition of darkness even more elusive. So here there is the duality of Vidya and Avidya. 2 points have been used. Vidya means knowledge. Opposite of Vidya is ignorance. As simple as that. Avidya in Sanskrit. If you see this shloka, it's very nicely giving a warning also. It says entering into a deep, into a darkness deep and blind, the followers of ignorance you will find. The followers of ignorance will walk into a path and enter into a darkness. But the rigid followers of a knowledge that is considered exclusive only sink into a condition of darkness, even more elusive. Meaning somebody who is seeking knowledge also can get into a darkness because there is rigidity in that individual. If you are seeking a knowledge which is making yourself most rigid, if that knowledge you are considering as exclusive, if you are considering that knowledge makes you distinct from everybody else, if you feel that is not knowledge, isn't it? That is just ahankar, no? Because knowledge will allow you to see oneness in everyone. This Upanishad says that is the oneness of the Brahman in all. But no, I am the one, or I am the possessor of that supreme knowledge. Other person is a ignorant fool. This distinction, when it starts happening, then Well, this Upanishad says the person is going to get trapped into another greater darkness, which is even more difficult to come out of. That's such a big risk, isn't it? A foolish man will suddenly come from foolishness into light easily. I may say, oh, it is morning. It is morning now in India. It is morning now in India. I may say it's very dumb. But somebody opens the window or pushes me outside, I will see it's darkness. That's it, no? When I realize, I will realize immediately. I was earlier in ignorance, then it's easier to move to light from ignorance to light. But what if I'm already walking on the path of light and have created a shell and bubble around me because of my limitation of my mind? I'm intruding into that field of knowledge. I'm going to make myself more lost into it. This is a warning this Upanishad talks about. That's why it is said there is sometimes people on the spiritual path also develop ahankar, isn't it? And that ahankar is very difficult to remove. Even the greatest gurus sometimes cannot remove that ahankar because they call it a very sukshma ahankar, which is hidden. Of course, the guru is so powerful that inside of everyone, if the guru decides and the shishya is receptive, it can happen like Krishna and Arjuna. But but this is the danger. Look at Arjuna, isn't it? He had Krishna, he had knowledge, he had strength, everything. But he entered into such a darkness which was very difficult. Krishna had to work on him for 18 chapters to liberate him from that knowledge. So that is what we see as another warning we see in this Upanishad. Those who seek Vidya and those who seek Avidya. But those who seek Vidya and are having it exclusively or making it means the rigid follower of knowledge that is exclusive, they get trapped. They get trapped. That is why Krishna also tells us to leave all rigidity. Sarva dharman parityaje mamekam sharanam vraja. He says, surrender completely to me. Full surrender. Forget all the dharmas that you understand and know. Let your dharma be surrendered to the divine only. Nothing more than that. Surrender to the will of the divine. Don't get trapped by any of the other sanskaras of the mind also. He says, Moksha Shami Mashaja, don't worry, I will liberate you completely. All your papa, punya, forget all the calculations. Your mind need not calculate all of it. I am going to take care. Well, that is when he is free. Rigidity is the problem, and this Upanishad also tells us the same big principle for all of us. Let us not imagine ourselves just because we are seeking the divine to be from belonging to a superior race. Another person who is not in my path is an inferior race. Haven't we seen so many cults and so many religions which start mocking people, making ridicule of so many people because they are not belonging to that particular cult? What happens then? When that individual who is following that knowledge gets trapped, the view starts becoming more and more myopic and it starts manifesting in their lives. So, this is a great warning for all in the Upanishad, in the Isha Upanishad. Again, let us go on. अन्यद् एवाहुर् अविद्यया अन्यदाहुर् विद्यया इति शुश्रुमधीराणाम् येनस्तत् विचक्षिरे. The ignorance at one end terminates. At the other, knowledge culminates. The doctrine of the awakened we have thus received, and their ancient wisdom we have heard and conceived. 5,000 years ago, it is still called ancient wisdom. That time also it was ancient. Or maybe more than 5,000. Gita is 5,000. This was more than that. Even that time, they say the ancient ones had understood that limitation of one side is ignorance. It ends at one end, the other end ends in knowledge. So both of these have two ends, Vidya and Avidya. Sri Aurobindo had beautifully given a statement. The opposites are true. How can the opposites be true? It cannot be, but the understanding of that, the understanding, if you get a higher understanding, then you can bring about reconciliation. You can even bring about a reconciliation between matter and spirit. That is what Sri Aurobindo has shown to us by his sadhana, by his life, by his writing, by his vision. Well, this is what it is. The ancient ones also, the doctrine of the ancients, they said this side is one, be wary Ignorance is going to end on one side. Knowledge also will end on the other side. You'll have to transcend that. That is important. That is the warning given here again in this part of the Upanishad. Then let us continue. Vidyam cha avidyayam cha. Vidyam cha avidyam cha. Yastad vedo bhayam saha. Avidyaya mrityum tirtva. Vidyayam amritam ashnute. But he who integrally perceives both as one, he who is able to integrate both, is able to perceive both as one. And in knowledge and ignorance, sees distinctions none. The state of death by ignorance he transcends, and by knowledge into immortality he extends. Somebody who is able to see oneness at these both ends, such a person, the Upanishad says, he is able to transcend. He is able to see no distinctions between both. He is able to understand both as two sides of one coin only of the life. Such a person is able to transcend ignorance and is also able to reach into a state of Amritam or the immortal consciousness. So, like, I think we will not be able to complete today as I had anticipated. We may have to take one more because this Upanishad's movement is going to, because we are still in the third movement. It will take some more time. So, maybe we will, can we take it ahead to the next week? Is that okay with everyone? Okay. All right. Rakhi has
Absolutely
also.
very happy to hear
Okay.
that, actually.
All right, Rachna ji, thank you, ji. So, because this concept again, so one side we don't want to go too fast and miss out on this interesting concept because it's very subtle one. There is this vidya and avidya, like that. There is sambhuti and sambhuti and asambhuti, manifestation and dissolution. Why is it so important? Is because people when they walk on the path of the divine, they start going closer to the divine, of course. But sometimes they start moving away from the world, which is a big problem, which is a big trap. How can we leave this world which we have been sent to perform the bidding of the divine? Can we do that? Well, we shouldn't. But this is what happens. This is why this world is called Mayavi Jagat, isn't it? There is Maya, it will trap you. I will say, I don't want to do this, but the world will make me do exactly what I don't want to do. Circumstances will suddenly appear. I may want something, I don't want to do this, but situations, circumstances, they will make it mandatory, and the circumstance will work according to as if the circumstance already knew this is my nature and I have to work in that direction. Because that is exactly what uh, Krishna told Arjuna, Brahman sarva bhutani yantra rudhani maya. Maya is there in the world, and Maya is actually an illusion, a veil that is sometimes preventing us from realizing truth which is in front of us. Friends, siblings, they can be together forever happily, yet, because they care for each other truly. Yet there is a wall of Maya separating both of them, and sometimes they go through entire lifetimes never reconciling. How does that happen? Well, this is the sansara. This is the game. And the master of the game is not somebody who is getting trapped in Maya. The master is going, the one who is able to get liberated from Maya. So here, the one who is able to see Vidya and Avidya. Can God not work through a fool? Definitely. If the God is omnipresent, the God is omnipotent, is all capable, the God will work through the most smartest person, and God will also work through the most dumbest person. God can work from the most eloquent person, the God can also work from somebody who is not capable of speaking properly also. The most disharmonious individual also God will use, isn't it? If you can recognize that, if you can recognize that, you are going to be calm, you are going to be quiet, you are not going to start separating yourself in the mind, of course. The Upanishad is only for self introspection and self knowledge. We have to use the weapon of the Upanishad, the verses, to cut all the different bandhanas that we have on the inside so that we become free, free for the divine, free for living a happy divine life in every day. So, this is one, like the trap of Vidya and Avidya, there is another trap which is called the Sambhuti and Asambhuti, the manifestation and dissolution. Probably we will put this on hold. We'll stop at Vidya and Avidya today. Next week we will look at what is the manifestation and dissolution. I expect to be back. I'm actually traveling, so next week on Wednesday. I do not know if I will make it back. If I get a clearer idea, I will let you know. We could keep it on Wednesday, or if Friday is suiting everybody, can we go on Friday?
Friday is fine.
Yes, I think Shashiji, or something happened to your speaker. Maybe I couldn't hear. I think some settings changed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll just make sure. I think my something to
All
do
right.
with my
What about
Wi-Fi.
everybody else? Until Shashiji comes, Rakiji and Rachna ji, if Wednesday or Friday, we'll probably try to conclude our session then. All right, then I think, uh,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, but still very soft. So, yes, ji.
Okay, Friday is fine.
Okay, all right. Wednesday also is fine, isn't it? Wednesday also?
Whichever day, I'll just
Okay,
keep
all right,
things
great. I'll
straight.
just thank you for that. So I think with this we are concluding our we have stopped at the shloka, which is the shloka number 11, where if you see somebody who is able to perceive both the ends as one, who is able to see no distinctions between ignorance and knowledge, that person is able to transcend because by ignorance, death by ignorance, this person transcends, and by knowledge into immortality, that person extends. If we just look at one shloka of the which is called the Mahamrutyunjaya mantra, the victory over Mrityu. What does it talk about? It talks about the Amrtatva, only the immortality. त्रयम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. So it talks about like a cucumber. The example of a cucumber is given there. I mean, what does cucumber have to do with immortality? You give this wrong interpretation of this verse to the somebody in the West, they will make a great market of how immortal cucumbers for sale. But the entire principle is so simple here. If you just look at the a ripe cucumber, how it separates from the stalks. It is so easy. Just touch it, and when it is ripe, you don't have to pull or try to separate it like that. It comes out on its own like a ripe fruit which is ready to get separated from the tree. Just like that, mukti will come. Just like that, Amar Tattva is realized. And this is a truth. This is the truth which our ancient rishis saw. And in our entire great civilizational heritage, we have lakhs and crores of people who have experienced this. I'm saying lakhs and crores, not just a handful. And what is the secret here? It says Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityormukshiyamamrutat. I meditate upon that divine one, the three-eyed one, Trayambakam, of we can call it to the Shiva or the Supreme Divine, by whose grace this entire universe grows. And how is he? How is it? Urva Rukameva Bandhana, like the cucumber that is separated from the stalk, like that, by the grace of the divine, I will be granted immortal consciousness. Just as simply as that, as easy as that. When your consciousness ripens so much, you are able to free yourself from that bandhanas completely. And that is really means there was one participant in our group. She's no more, of course, but she shared her experience. She was a very elderly lady, an advocate, Kamala Maji. Interestingly, in the Gita Varga, her daughter also had joined, and her daughter's daughter also had joined. But I'm talking about the grandmother. And the grandmother was talking and giving an example story of her grandmother, which is very interesting. She was saying about when she was young, her grandmother had, she didn't get too much. The way she was talking also was very sweet and innocent. She was telling, my grandmother is very simple. She used to do all the puja in the house only. She didn't get time to go to any temples. She would take care of everybody in the house only. She never got to do anything beyond looking after the house, and she was not complaining. She was a very wonderful and pious lady. Every early morning she would get up, and end of the day all the works of the home she would do. And she was talking about her experience that her grandmother said on Vaikuntha Ekadashi. On that day, all the guests had come. She came, she served all the. I don't know what has happened to my camera. It suddenly started zooming. Yeah. So she served all the guests. She served all the guests. And she came to her and said, my Vimana has come. And she passed away after that. I mean, what is that? We have instances. We've heard of Tukaram got a chance. He got the Vimana. He went with Sir. They have so many such stories. Are there here a real practical example? Another such example I had the good fortune of meeting was Kusumben of Sri Aurobindo Ashram. The mother had also touched her. So wonderful she was. And such a, I mean, I always asked to go deliver products there. I always liked going to deliver the products to her because I have never seen the mother for me. She was like a mother, and I was like, yes. Every time order would come, I would go happy to deliver the products there to her. So she would come, and I had seen her experience because of badminton, my one shoulder was always little bit lower. One day while I was taking a product, she just didn't speak a word. She just came and touched my shoulder, and suddenly I became conscious of why is my shoulder in such an awkward manner. Let me take it out properly. And from that time onwards, it was, I don't know how they say sparsha can make a difference. Well, I felt it for my because so many people had commented on it and it had not changed, but her one touch suddenly made me conscious. Well, this was a person who lived her life completely in sadhana. She dedicated herself to the mother. Till the last moment, she used to sit in the in her in this perfumery department, and everybody was scared of her. One person asked me, "How come you are not scared of?" I said, "She has never scolded me. No, no, she's very strict. She's very strict," and that is what they told. So what happened was she used to interact with my sister often because afterwards my sister kept going there to deliver the products. That time one day she just called my sister and she said, "I want you to come. I'm arranging a food for everybody in the evening." And my sister came back home. She told her Guruji also, and she was like, "I don't understand. Kusunben never does this. What is this?" Because she was very old and she was so senior that sometimes she would only joke. She says, "People come and still ask, you are still here." So, my sister was a little bit worried. Ki this looks a little different beyond what it is. He said, "All those people are everybody." And Guruji said, go and meet." And so she went there. There, Kusumen had called a number of different people, all of different ages and different, maybe whom she knew, and all the nice people she had met in her life. My sister was also one of them. And she came, Khana acha hai kya? Did you eat well? All these questions she asked her. And she came back. Next day morning, Kusumen, in her sleep, she passed away. We were so surprised. How is it that this person who did not want to even leave a little bit of debt, there is something called runa, every soul is born. We receive a runa from our parents, we owe something to our parents, we owe something to the people who have been nice to us, we owe so many things to society and to the world. Here was one soul who has completely cleared all accounts. As a perfect host, she has treated every people there. And did she know how is she going to go in the early morning? She passed away. This was a conscious understanding, isn't it? Like that, so many people have understanding of them last moments. Well, this is the realization where death is no more something which is something so fearful. People realize soul is able to be so calm and understand it's a part of the journey, and the realized soul has to do nothing. It is the divine that does everything. And that is something here which we see that death by ignorance is transcended, and that soul reaches into the highest realms of immortality. by that grace, by the knowledge of the divine. That is the power of knowledge, and that is why the Gita also talks about realizing. Nahi jnanena sadrusham pavitram na vidyate. Nothing more pure than this supreme, pure knowledge. It is an unadulterated bliss that probably must be experienced by everyone. I think with this we conclude our today's session. We will continue with our last part of the Isha Upanishad in the next week. If anybody wants to ask something, you are welcome, or we just conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Yes. All right, then. Let's conclude. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyit dukha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Tat Sat Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru. Hari Om. Namaste. Punarmila. See you all next
Hey,
week.
I have one question.
Yes, Ji.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
I
you.
I just have one question. You know, this Upanishad that you're reading from, have you
Isha
got,
Upanishad
yeah, Isha Upanishad, did you give us something to go on?
to read. You mean a
Yeah,
reference? Yes, I can share it to you. It is there. It is available. Yes, Ji.
please, I'd appreciate that because
All right, Ji. Yes.
I'm just absorbing, but I don't know how good my
No, that's
speed
fine, Ji.
is.
That is, it is there. It is. I will just share that link. Yes, Ji. All right.
Lovely. Thank you
Namaste.
very much.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you very
Goodbye.
much.